Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you from Army Burn Hall College for Girls, Abbottabad. I am your biology instructor, Mrs. Sadia Kazi, reaching out online. Dear girls, how are you? I hope you will be fine. Girls, it is the first time I'm not physically in front of you. You have to follow me. You have to listen to me carefully. I am sure, like always, together we will make a winning team. Let me introduce your book first, the cover page of your book. Inside, look for a new developed edition 2018. We shall start with first chapter, Respiration. Respiration is a short and easy chapter. You are familiar with the process of respiration as well as the human respiratory system. Girls, after doing this chapter, you will be able to discuss levels of respiration. You will be able to define respiratory surface and its properties, describe main structural features and components of human respiratory system. Let's start with levels of respiration. There are two levels of respiration, internal and external level of respiration. Cellular level or internal level is a catabolic process. Catabolic process is a breakdown process, a breakdown of complex organic compounds. These compounds are our food that we eat. The process takes place inside mitochondria and it releases energy. Organismic level or external respiration is simply inhalation of oxygen and exhalation of carbon dioxide. The two processes are interlinked. Actually, the oxygen that we take in is of environment and the carbon dioxide which we produce inside our body is released into environment. So common linking factor is environment. Next article is properties of respiratory surface. How do we define a respiratory surface? Area where gas exchange with the environment actually occurs. It is called respiratory surface. For example, skin of invertebrates like earthworm, gills of fishes, and lungs of higher animals. There are four properties of respiratory surface. Number one, it must be moist and permeable so that the gases may diffuse easily. The respiratory epithelium must be very thin, approximately 1 mm, because the distance through which the gases has to diffuse must be very less. A respiratory surface must have a large surface area and richly supplied with blood capillaries. Highly vascularized means richly supplied with blood capillaries. Today's main article is the respiratory system. We define respiratory system is a body system responsible for exchange of gases between body fluid and outer environment. Girls, you know what is body fluid? It is blood. This figure indicates human respiratory tract. It is responsible for exchange of gases. Where? Which structure here is responsible? It is lungs. During inspiration, that is breathing in, and expiration, breathing out, air is conducted towards or away from lungs by a series of cavities, tubes, and openings. These cavities, tubes, and openings make respiratory tract. Human respiratory tract has two major divisions. Upper respiratory tract, starting from nostrils, then are nasal cavities, and it is pharynx. Lower respiratory tract, starting from larynx, then trachea, and trachea extends and divides into two, into bronchi, and bronchi finally enter the lung. Let us study these organs in detail. The first organ of upper respiratory tract is nose, which is composed of bones, cartilage, and fatty tissue. Opening of the nose are called nostrils, while inner hollow spaces are called nasal cavities. The nasal cavities are partitioned by a wall which is made up of bone and cartilage. This wall is called nasal septum, and vestibules is anterior part of nasal cavity which have nasal hair. If we touch our nose in between ears, it is hard, indicating bone. And the lower part of nose is flexible. It is made up of cartilage. Additional function of nose: as the air moves, it is warmed, moistened, filtered, and cleaned. The structures which are responsible for doing this are nose hairs, mucus, and cilia. Nose hair traps dust. Mucus secreted by nasal epithelium traps microbes and dust. Cilia propel this debris toward the pharynx. Mucus is very sticky, you may remember that. Underneath mucous membrane, blood capillaries are responsible for warming up of air. Next, down to the nasal cavity is pharynx. Pharynx is basically a crossroad linking digestive and respiratory system. Pharynx connects nasal and oral cavities to larynx. There are three major sections of pharynx: nasopharynx, where nasal cavities open; oropharynx, where oral cavities open; and laryngopharynx, below oropharynx, open into larynx. Girls, I am not explaining it in detail because this was done in first year chapter digestion. So pharynx divided into three parts: nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. We shall start lower respiratory tract with larynx, which is enlargement in airway at top of trachea below pharynx. Larynx, as you can see in the figure, the blue colored portion is the cartilage plates, and while this brown portion it's muscles. So larynx is composed of muscles and cartilages. Very important cartilage is epiglottis. Epiglottis is like a lid. It keeps the airway open. But when we eat, we push down our bolus down to the pharynx. The movement of muscle raises the larynx up, and that movement of muscle, when the larynx is raised up, epiglottis is pushed down to partially cover the trachea so that the food may not enter into airway. Opening of the larynx is called glottis. Larynx has important function of producing sound because vocal cords, which are two pairs of horizontal folds, stretch of mucous membrane, it's present inside the larynx. Vocal cords are made up of connective tissue, elastic fibers. You see here in this figure, anterior portion, the glottis is open, while in the figure B, again anterior side of the vocal cords is seen where the glottis is closed. Trachea, the windpipe. Below larynx is a tubular structure which is called trachea. Trachea, you see, it is provided with C-shaped cartilage rings. These cartilage rings are 15 to 20, and they keep the trachea open all the time and prevent its collapsing. Trachea is extending into the thoracic cavity. It divides into two bronchi, and the bronchi, they are entering into lungs of their respective side. Bronchi are further divided and redivided. The bronchus which is entering into the lung is called primary bronchus. It's also supplied with C-shaped cartilage ring. Primary bronchus is further divided into secondary and tertiary bronchi, but you see, if you look at the figure carefully, the primary bronchus have C-shaped cartilage rings, while these rings are lost in secondary and tertiary bronchi. Here the cartilage plates are present. Tertiary bronchi, when they further divide, they form a smaller structure, bronchioles, where there is no cartilage present. Bronchioles divide and redivide to form a respiratory bronchiole. A respiratory bronchiole lead into alveolar bronchiole, which enter into alveolar sac. Now this is structure of alveoli. As you can see, alveoli are air sacs. They are balloon shaped structures. They are responsible for exchange of gases. There are over 700 million alveoli present in lungs. Wall of each alveolus is only 0.1 micrometer thick. On its outside, it's a dense network of blood capillaries. Lining each alveolus is moist